People's lives and livelihoods were all at risk. The world was depending on working people to make sure the rest of us survived, whether it was the warehouse worker, the healthcare worker, the transit worker, people driving our trucks. These were the folks that were making the world go round.
I have a lot of anxiety. We're transporting frontline workers to their jobs.
Pendant qu'on faisait des mises à pied, d'avoir une solution pour sauver des vies. Ça, là, c'était quelque chose, on était très fiers de ça au Québec. La pandémie a démontré qu'on n'avait pas les outils, puis des pandémies, on est peut-être risque d'en avoir d'autres, là. Il faut vraiment qu'il y ait des programmes qui soient robustes.
They went into work every day. They were there for us.
Media workers, making sure we were getting the proper information and getting the science to the public.
Telecommunications workers that just got us connected. You know, hospitals were running because of telecom.
One of the sectors that people don't think about that was impacted was the energy sector.
Bien, il faut accompagner ces travailleurs-là. Il faut qu'il y ait des programmes pour les soutenir. Il faut les reformer vers des nouveaux emplois. Donc ça me paraît fondamental, mais pour faire ça, il faut être consulté, il faut faire partie du processus.
COVID-19 may have taken us out of the sky, but politicians are keeping us on the ground.
The aerospace industry is so highly linked to the airline industry, which is so highly linked to the hospitality industry.
I am a single mom with 2 kids. This is my job, this is my career, and this is what I love doing. And it seems like there's no end in sight.
They were one of the first to be laid off, and they're one of the last to come back.
The petition will email the motivation for the changes to EI that we need.
When the pandemic hit, all of the things that we had said about EI, of course, became true. And we developed, a whole list of demands in terms of how the program needed to be changed. So we really need to use the moment in time that we have to push forward on this issue.
Imagine working in a long-term care home for 56 days straight. Sometimes you're working a 20-hour shift. And during those 56 days, 40, 50, maybe 60 of your residents have died.
Every single day, hundreds of seniors losing their lives in long-term care. And our workers, our members who were in long-term care, were struggling and suffering through it.
All healthcare workers felt the need to speak up regarding personal protective equipment, but also getting paid for putting themselves in jeopardy for going to work every day.
In the beginning of the pandemic, Doug Ford promised us that they would place an iron ring around long-term care. That never happened.
They've barely done anything to fix that, but what they have done is handed over the keys to the operators to find a way out of any sort of a lawsuit or an action that would hold them accountable. And I think that is absolutely disgraceful of this government. And so as long as you're an operator of a long-term care or a large corporation, he's going to pave the way for you. And for everybody else, you need unions like Unifor to be there.
So in Nova Scotia, we held a campaign with other healthcare unions. It was very successful. At the end of the day, they were, given their personal protective equipment. They were given the premiums, which they rightfully deserved.
This is Ian, one of thousands of care workers who go to work every day during a pandemic.
Every single day, we heard from our workers from the healthcare sector. They were nervous about going to work. They wanted to come home to their families and make sure that they don't transmit the virus. They wanted to be able to have paid sick days. They had to make a decision between, do I go in to work possibly sick with COVID, or, do I take this money off my paycheck? With all these restrictions, how do you get to Queen's Park? How do you get to the government? And we thought, well, to hell with that. We're just going to take it right across the skies. Didn't Twitter and Instagram and Facebook just blow up? Very shortly after that, the government introduced a paid sick day program. It didn't go far enough, but the fact is, we put the pressure on them and they moved.
And so we continue to push in op-eds, on the ground, writing letters, quite frankly, shaming these governments into doing what they should have done in the first place. Let's get everybody vaccinated. Let's give them paid time off to get vaccinated. And then if they're sick, stay home. We managed to achieve 3 out of 4 paid immunization time in the provinces, and in British Columbia, we managed to get some paid sick days. So we're not going to stop that fight all across the country.
So we have a fantastic turnout today for Respect Us, Protect Us, Pay Us, our socially distanced car rally at Queen's Park.
Respect us, protect us, and pay us. Invest in healthcare.
We just made sure that at Queen's Park, there was a presence of Unifor.
Doug Ford's cuts hurt families across Ontario.
The Elections Finance Act came out, and it was probably one of the most regressive, draconian bills I have ever seen. They tried to silence us by putting all kinds of restrictions in how we can advertise.
Il n'y a rien tel que des réunions comme celle-là pour affermir des liens et aussi être capable de développer la confiance les uns les autres qu'on peut aller à la guerre ensemble.
Nos conseils, c'est un lieu d'échange là où nous pouvons discuter avec l'une et l'autre de manière à nous nourrir de toutes les différences afin que nous puissions davantage trouver les meilleures solutions.
Si on n'est pas ensemble, si on n'est pas unis, on n'est pas capable de rien faire.
Et les gens se soulèvent, y appuient ou réagissent à quelque chose, puis d'autant plus que dans mon cas, c'est mon dernier conseil.
Pendant 40 ans de sa carrière à temps plein, il a été dédié à la cause des travailleuses et des travailleurs.
Il en convient à Daniel Cloutier de pouvoir l'amener à un autre niveau.
Ben, écoute, Daniel Cloutier, comme directeur québécois, moi, ça me fait quelque chose ici. Ça fait un bon 22 ans que je le connais.
Déjà, il y a une expérience. Déjà, il y a un bagage syndical. Ça peut être une source de renouveau.
C'est la première fois qu'on unit nos forces avec le SCFP pour cette bataille-là, pour empêcher les entreprises des télécoms de transférer, délocaliser des emplois à l'extérieur du pays pendant qu'ils font des milliards de dollars. On est un peu mal pris avec ça, là. Comment est-ce qu'on ferait un débrayage demain matin? Une entreprise peut délocaliser ou faire ses travaux n'importe où dans le monde, en télétravail ou n'importe comment. Fait qu'on est un peu vulnérable. D'où l'idée de forcer, de demander au gouvernement de mettre des dispositions anti-briseurs de grève, justement pour maintenir un rapport de force qui va créer un équilibre dans le cadre de la négociation si on veut être capable de protéger nos emplois. Donc, ça n'a aucun sens. Fait qu'on a uni nos forces pour la première fois pour dénoncer ça.
Unifor stands here in solidarity.
While the United Conservative Party, they canceled restrictions long before any other governments did. They refused to take accountability for their failed decisions. Our members on the ground know exactly what he's done. We're making sure that they know it with fact sheets, with information. Jason Kenney doesn't care about working people. He doesn't care about our members. He never did. He never will. And more of our members are getting angry and ready to take him on and take him out in 2023.
The trouble starts when Canada, the US's #1 auto trading partner, is treated as an afterthought.
We owe it to the workers in the offshore oil industry, as well as everybody else, to do the best we can and do it now.
That's why we're here today to urge the government to pass S3 as soon as possible.
It became an opportunity to be able to point out, look, here are the things that are wrong in our world, in our society, in our economy, and here's the way it can be fixed.
In the end, we did come full circle because as we entered into 2020 bargaining, for the first time in the history of collective bargaining, we were able to reopen a closed vehicle assembly plant.
So proud of our members getting this done. Here we are today, one rolling right off the end of the line.
GM is running 2 shifts of operation, assembling trucks at General Motors Oshawa with a plan to add a 3rd shift.
We are not going to let the government take away publicly owned passenger rail lines in this country. We're the only ones fighting right now, and we're gonna fight until the government changes their decision.
We grabbed our flags and we marched all the way down to the Via Rail station.
I would say to all of the Liberal MLAs and MPs and cabinet ministers and all the NDP ones, you were elected not to serve corporations, you were elected to serve Canadians, and we expect you to do your job and keep this public down until forever.
Republic! Keep the Republic!
Happy May Day, everybody. Paid sick days for all. Affordable housing for all. Come on, you know what we want? $20 minimum wage.
Where's the strategy to ensure we capitalize on the skills and abilities of our energy workers? Where's the strategy to attract and retain highly skilled workers in this province? No matter which way the wind blows, if we stand arm in arm, it can't push us backwards. Solidarity, my friends.
Solidarity forever. The union makes us strong.
WestJet employees were like a family. We were all owners in the company. We were proud of that.
Those times are long gone.
The fact our current plastic union couldn't do much to help us.
The GSAs, the CSAs at 34 other bases, and our ground crew, TAC, they all lost their jobs.
Large companies that were unionized had more stability and less fear of job loss.
We had member organizers fanned out everywhere that we could call on in a minute.
The people that we were reaching were all concerned about their jobs, so they were quite ready to sign a Unifor card.
When I found out that Unifor had become our union, it felt like Christmas.
We finally have some protection and a voice that's in the room to stand up and fight for what we need on the floor.
When I started, we were non-union, and we weren't getting the wage that we are right now. We wouldn't even be close if it wasn't for Unifor. And we joined Unifor because no union fights harder than Unifor in Canada.
Every worker needs a union, but the pandemic really highlighted those sectors that workers are really vulnerable. And so our warehouse employees have launched this campaign wanting to make sure that other warehouse workers know what it's like to be in Unifor and that they can have a voice with us.
Thank you to everyone who has joined us today to support our offshore Local 2121 members here in the province of Newfoundland. And that rally was for the push for government to get involved in the offshore oil industry in Newfoundland. They needed assistance. Our members were out of work, and we needed government's help. All the political leaders in the province showed up, federally and provincially. So in June of 2021, the local held another rally to put pressure not only on the provincial government, but also to the oil companies.
The federal and provincial governments have to come to an agreement. This is not just for workers on the Terra Nova, it's the workers for the oil industry.
Voices were heard, and it was now going to extend the life for the Terra Nova for another 12 years. And that's important for our members, their livelihoods, their future. If Unifor hadn't gotten involved the way they did and put so much pressure, I believe the Terra Nova would never have got their extension.
Congratulations to all those that are elected. You all deserve a round, and I wish we could hear the applause.
The Atlantic Regional Council was a great success. Our members made it a success. They participated in panels such as health and safety.
The Destiny was on fire and had taken on water. It was a long night to see where the men were.
The members that answered that Mayday call from 2182, it was Unifor members helping Unifor members. The helicopters that came, those choppers are maintained from the IMP local. Everything had a connection to a Unifor workplace.
The members on board the vessel, they train every day because when it happens, there's no training on the spot.
Through the heroics of everyone involved, they were able to get off that vessel safely.
The next model of conservative is here. Meet the 2021 O'Toole, ready to steer Canada in the wrong direction.
When you saw the blue beat-up truck, that is exactly how I see the Conservative government. Well, look at what's happened to us here in Ontario under Doug Ford. And when that sign fell off, well, we know exactly who's pulling the strings here.
He wanted to portray himself as a friend of the working class. And yet, when he was part of Stephen Harper's government and he voted in favor of a number of anti-worker bills.
Our members were demanding that we fight back and not see another Conservative government.
Politicians that are part of making decisions every single day, those decisions affect us.
Our election strategy was to look at kind of key ridings where we could make sure that we were electing progressive candidates, where we had great and strong union densities.
We know how important it is to get out there and fight hard for workers' rights.
Door-to-door canvassing and phoning and going out and talking to all our members.
This is what Unifor is all about. Boots on the ground, talking about issues.
In this election, Unifor has been more effective in all the ridings. Wherever we go, it's only Unifor, the union, that is there.
We were able to get the Liberals for the first time ever to have a commitment around anti-scab legislation in their platform.
The federal government is going to implement anti-scab legislation for us, and Unifor can take credit for that.
Our members came through, they really connected, and it makes a difference.
Andrew Wilkinson is out of touch.
In the West, we had 2 elections that occurred. In British Columbia, we finally managed to help John Horgan move to a majority government so that we can really start to get the movement on workers' rights and all of the supports.
We hit those key ridings that are so important to a majority NDP government, and we have some fun doing it.
In Saskatchewan, we knew that it was an uphill battle, but we had members on the ground in Saskatoon and Regina.
New Brunswick was the first province to hold the pandemic election. And then we had Newfoundland and Labrador. In Nova Scotia, we had the 3rd pandemic election. So even though it was difficult, we got our members speaking.
I'm not ashamed that I wanted to quit, that I wanted to get down on the floor and cry.
I was heading down a dark path, and I need to do this to make myself happy.
Women lost more jobs disproportionately in the pandemic. Childcare disappeared. The isolation that women faced also meant that we saw an increase in violence against women throughout this pandemic.
We're asking that all frontline healthcare workers be included in pandemic pay, and that the pay be made permanent.
And Conservative politicians have spent more time attacking workers and our rights than this virus. We had over 300 women on that IWD event. It was like food for the soul, like we so needed it.
Sisters, you were fierce, and I'm so proud to be there with you.
We bargained a collective agreement in 2 days via Zoom.
The issue now is in a very short period of time, we would like you to take an action.
All of the things that were wrong before became that much more wrong during the pandemic. And we realized that our racial justice work was now even more important.
No matter where you turned or looked, you saw what was wrong with the world and the changes that needed to happen.
I want my kids to know that Black people should be recognized and celebrated all the time.
This has been a hard year that way. I mean, we had the pandemic, and then we had recovery of children in residential schools.
But sadly, this isn't a discovery. This is something the families and those in the region have known for years. The reality is there has been far too many children taken from their families, forcibly educated, and then not even having the dignity of coming back to their families when they passed on.
I was very proud to see a lot of our members showing their support for Orange Shirt Day by not just wearing a shirt, but actually taking action.
The answer lies in the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations. Let's move on these recommendations. Let's get some justice for these families.
Il faut que les gens comprennent que les générations d'Autochtones futures soient là pour nous le rappeler que ça n'a pas de bon sens ce qui s'est passé.
Drag the Red is really something that we shouldn't have had to do, frankly. A bunch of volunteers were out there searching for loved ones who are lost, who are taken away. And we helped because their boat really needed to be upgraded, because they know that reconciliation isn't just something we talk about, it's about the need to take action.
It comforts me as an individual and as a leader of many Indigenous people that there's help out there that's being provided for these people.
So the Mama Bears are volunteers that are out there on the street.
Members always want to give back to the community, so it's an opportunity for them to come show their support
They're bringing food, donations of money.
It's an incredible community effort, and we're getting more people all the time to really try to shine a light on these terrible injustices that are out there.
Galen's pockets lined with gold.
Galen's pockets lined with gold.
I have 2 kids, and I'm a single mom. I would actually make more money if I was home on welfare.
Happy Labor Day, live from coast to coast.
We're on day 17 on the picket line, and this is only one of 11 picket lines across the province.
We decided we were going to take Loblaws on, we were going to take Galen Weston on, and we were going to do that right across the country. The issue that they had at Dominion and Newfoundland was the same one that our members here had and continue to have, right? This is the fight for retail workers.
Because these are the same workers who got them through the pandemic, who came into work every single day, made sure there was food on the table.
To see it all unfold as if we were all together. Hats off to our members for pulling that off.
We are live streaming this rally on the picket line at the Toronto Downsview plant, where Unifor Local 673 and 112 members at de Havilland have been on strike since July 27th.
A company owned by one of the richest people in Canada, Sherry Bridson, heiress to the Thompson family fortune, who refuses to listen to the workers who put their blood, sweat, and tears into this company.
I've got 3 grandkids, and you know, when they look up in the sky and they see a Dash 8 go by, oh, Grandpa, that's your plane going up there, and I feel good about it.
It's interesting to see how Unifor members reach out to other Unifor members. We barely need to put out a call from the National Union to say, can you show up and support?
Thank you for joining us here in Burlington at this Reliance facility where this employer locked our members out May 13th. Yay!
We're here at Shorelines Casino in Belleville.
We aren't being treated fair. The employers are taking advantage of us.
This is an American company that we're dealing with, and we need to show them that our workers are going to fight.
And we now have a union representation in the casino, which is awesome.
For workers to see, you know, $1 or $2 or in some cases $3 an hour increases as a result of joining the union.
Our members up in the Pine River gas plant at Local 449. Our members at Local 2301 in Rio Tinto. We had our members in Local 3019 at Naira Falls Mine. We had picket lines in Victoria. Our members at Local 114 at Ocean Concrete also were on strike, fighting for a fair deal.
Donc, j'ai besoin de votre solidarité. Les affiliés de la FTQ, il faut que la grande famille FTQ soit derrière les gens du 177, les travailleurs et travailleuses ici, là. Puis on va la gagner, cette lutte-là. Solidarité!
Donc, ces entreprises-là en ont profité pour nous adresser de nombreuses concessions. Imaginez que c'est pas facile pour des gens, quand le carnet de commande est vide, puis ils se font sacrer à la rue, de résister dans le contexte aux demandes de concessions. Donc, l'entreprise a annoncé qu'ils fermaient 2 fours sur 4 et qu'ils devaient changer leur façon de faire pour réduire leurs coûts de façon importante. Donc, puis là, il fallait que ça soit réglé absolument pour renouveler la convention collective. Donc, ça voulait dire accepter des sous-traitants, mais passer de 154 employés à 68 employés. Et l'entreprise nous a mis en lockout illégal le 22 mai. Tu sais, il y a 150 000 emplois qui manquent au Québec à combler, là. Et pendant 1 mois et demi de temps, ce que la compagnie voulait savoir, c'est le nombre de personnes qu'elle a quittées. Fait qu'ils ont mis une prime de départ jusqu'à telle date pour partir. Et ce qui est inconcevable là-dedans, c'est qu'on se bat partout pour retenir, recruter de la main-d'œuvre, puis eux cherchent à s'en débarrasser.
This is a fight that we're not going to back down from.
In October of this year, I applied for a heavy equipment position. I think the reason I didn't get the position was partly due to gender.
Women are just as equal as we are, capable of doing the exact same jobs as us.
We are here until we finally get gender equality in this worksite.
One day longer! One day stronger!
When we all stick together, the solidarity among Unifor members has been amazing, and the solidarity with the community has been outstanding as well.
Because of your solidarity, we're in a strong position.
I have a message for the Whistler Mayor. If you cared about these workers, you would actually talk about how you and your council are prepared
put additional funding on the table.
Well, the key issue for me is the benefits for everybody. Medical, dental, extended benefits.
So after the longest transit strike in BC history, the mediator agreed that the cost of living was going up, and it was irrefutable. And so he put forward a cost of living allowance adjustment, which is not only going to benefit the workers in Whistler Transit, but all throughout Whistler and in fact throughout BC. This is a groundbreaking provision that will heavily impact working people to make sure that they fight against rising inflation.
One day longer, one day longer. Who are we? Unifor. Who are we? Unifor.